Recently, I had the chance to spend an incredible weekend in North Berwick, Maine at the OM System Kachu Fagetsu Nature Photography Retreat. 3 days of bird photography, macro work, landscapes, and creative nature imagery, all guided by 5 OM System ambassadors. So let me tell you how I filled my memory cards with keepers and my belly with lobster and clam chowder.
What's the password? New England clam chowder. Is that the red or the white? I can never remember that.
This is not a sponsored video, and while I am an OM affiliate, I am first and foremost a satisfied customer and user of OM System gear. Now, they did not ask me or pay me to make this video. I've attended 2 of these retreats at my own expense, and I simply want to share my experience. Have you attended an OM retreat or any other workshop that helped your photography? Please join the conversation in the comments and share your experiences. Okay, now that I've got the disclaimer BS out of the way, the theme of this recent retreat is Kachu Fagetsu. It's a Japanese concept followed by OM System that signifies flower, bird, wind, and moon, which embodies the idea of discovering oneself through appreciation of nature. This is a guiding principle for the company and their ambassadors, and hopefully for the photographers using the gear. This philosophy of emphasizing the beauty and harmony found in the natural world is definitely one of the reasons I support and use these products and have embraced the Micro Four Thirds format. I'll put a link in the description to the videos from OM System expounding on these principles if you're interested. Environmentalists and conservationists talk about reducing our carbon footprint. Well, I've reduced my creative footprint. I can do more with less, and I only used 3 lenses during this retreat. The Zuiko 90mm f3.5 macro IS Pro, the 12-100 f4 IS Pro, and the 150-400mm f4.5 TC 1.25 IS Pro. Yes, the last one is the outlier in regard to size and cost, as it is a monster in the Micro Four Thirds lens ecosystem and extremely expensive. But since it is also arguably one of the sharpest lenses made for the format, I rented it for this occasion, and I was not disappointed. Here are some of the images from that lens using the OM1 Mark II. For subjects like this, I would normally use the new Zuiko 100-400mm f5 to 6.3 IS Mark II lens, which is smaller, weather-sealed, and significantly more affordable. But I wanted to spoil myself this time around.
Hey, Daddy, I want a golden goose. Here we go again.
Remember, this is a workshop, so walking away with keeper images is a bonus. You'll get some for sure, but a lot of my shots look like this. Now, you don't have to own or use OM System gear to attend these retreats, but it certainly helps, as the retreat covers technology exclusive to OM System Olympus cameras, such as Pro Capture, Live Composite, Live ND, Live Graduated ND, and High-Res mode. It also covers focus stacking and bracketing and common photography techniques that can be used with pretty much any camera system. Attendees had everything from an OM1, the new OM3, the original OM5, and I'm not sure if I saw anyone other than the ambassadors using the new OM5 Mark II, but I definitely did see someone with a Panasonic Lumix camera. Many of the older Olympus bodies don't have the computational photography features like the newer ones, but a great perk of these retreats is the opportunity to borrow gear, including the new bodies and lenses like the 90mm macro, the 150-600 telephoto, or even the white whale itself, the 150-400. They want everyone to have a successful and productive experience. Now, prior to the event, they do provide a list of recommended gear, a schedule of activities, and concepts that will be addressed, but I highly recommend knowing and understanding the basics of your camera before you go. This reduces downtime and delays in your learning. You don't want to be fighting your equipment when you could be creating images. But the ambassadors are there to assist, and many of the attendees are good resources as well. All questions are good questions. The retreat kicked off Friday afternoon at Little River Photo, a gorgeous location in North Berwick, Maine, owned and operated by OM ambassador Steve Morello, an award-winning professional photographer who has worked with little outfits like National Geographic, the New York Times, World Wildlife Fund, just to name a few, you know, the nobodies. He's also an instructor with Lindblad National Geographic Expeditions and one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. Steve has developed quite a property at Little River, beautiful meadows, forest trails, and dedicated photo bird blinds. And of course, there's Joe. But you have to attend to find out more about Joe. The first day is about introductions and expectations. We met our instructors, Frank Smith, Emily Talpa, Tom and Lisa Kuchara, and of course, Steve. Each one a master in their specialty. These folks are talented, accomplished, and so giving of their time and experience. They even put up with my nonsense for 3 days. Heroes, one and all.
Avengers!
Assemble.
The best part is you get to rotate through all of them in groups, so you don't just learn from one instructor on a single topic. Believe me, you'll be spent physically and mentally by the time this thing is over, but better prepared creatively. That first evening session was a perfect warm-up and my introduction to Frank Smith. I will have links to all of the OM ambassadors in the description. I highly recommend checking out their websites, following them on Instagram and YouTube. Frank was an Olympus visionary long before there was an OM Digital Solutions and has traveled the world creating amazing images. In fact, apparently, this trip to Maine completed his visits to all 50 states, and that's quite an accomplishment. We covered landscape and high-res mode. My favorite part of Frank's session was getting insight into how he sees composition, especially for landscape. This is a genre I do not photograph often enough and can have trouble pre-visualizing the shot. I think of my photography skills and genres as muscles. Just like going to the gym, you'll work out legs one day, arms another day, or you'll be like me and go 3 times one week, then once the next week, and then skip the following week and skip another week. You know, I really need to get better at working my photography muscles on a consistent and regular basis. Workshops like this help get me back on track, and I clearly need to get back into the gym as well. Saturday started bright and early at 6 a.m. with Lisa providing a morning session focused on macro photography. Lisa Kuchara is a professional photographer and wild side nature tour leader and published author. And I'll be putting links to her books in the description. Whether folks were using the 90mm, the amazingly sharp 60mm, or even the petite little 30mm macros, Lisa covered settings and techniques, including focus stacking and bracketing. She even covered finding shapes and patterns in nature that you might normally overlook. It's a great reminder that creativity is about seeing differently. But keeping my attention on flowers was difficult with so many interesting bugs and spiders around. Steve completed the day with birding in his 2 on-location hides, including a new reflection pool. Unfortunately, I didn't get any keepers with the water feature. But again, the goal of this retreat is to practice and learn and not produce award-winning shots. Those should come later when you're back home or traveling. But I did make some good moments, including a chipmunk that wandered into the area and one of my favorites, these 2 young sparrows. Steve covered autofocus and tracking techniques, pro capture, and how to anticipate your subject's behavior. Day 3 did not disappoint as Emily had us focus literally on bugs using focus stacking and flash. Now I was using the Godox V860 flash with an 8K diffuser on my OM1 Mark II. But there are several options in both flash units and diffusers. Many folks had the Olympus FL700 flash that obviously provides excellent synchronization with the OM Olympus camera bodies. The key is to have a flash that supports high-speed sync. Emily walked us through flash settings for insects and how to work with light in small spaces. Even if you think you know macro, her techniques for lighting and depth of field can really improve your results. One species we do not have in Arizona, at least I've never seen one until this retreat, is the hummingbird moth, and they live up to their name. They act like a hummingbird and should be photographed like one using similar techniques, fast shutter speed and a steady hand. That evening, Frank Smith and Tom Kuchara, a professional photographer, Wildside Nature tour leader, and author, took us deep into computational photography, featuring live ND, live graduated ND, high-res mode, and live composite for late afternoon and dusk photography on the coast. Even though conditions weren't perfect as we didn't have a lot of clouds, the techniques they shared worked for so many scenarios and was great practice, especially with the goal of creating images straight out of the camera with little to no post-processing. While they pack each day with learning opportunities, you still have some downtime, and I use this to visit some additional locations.
So I am now at Hampton Beach State Park in New Hampshire. Bright and early, came down for the sunrise. It's about 40 miles south of Wells, Maine, where I'm staying. One of the many things I love about this part of the country is that you can drive 40 minutes and be in another state. You can drive 4 hours in Arizona and never leave the state. Another thing I love about it right now, it's going to be 75 degrees today. In Arizona, 114. I don't miss it one bit. But I'm down here at Hampton Beach State Park. See if I can find some birds, some terns. A little scarce right now. It was an amazing sunrise. But we'll see. Hopefully the birds will start populating as the day goes by.
I was a little disappointed in the lack of birds in the area, but I got some great sunrise and close-up shots of shells. Emily later told me that I had made a mistake of going in the wrong direction when I got there. So, note to self, next time you're visiting Hampton Beach in New Hampshire, go north where the birds are and not south where they are not. Again, the retreat is named after a 6th-century-old Japanese philosophy, Kachu Fagetsu, flower, bird, wind, and moon. It's about self-discovery through appreciating the natural world. And that really summed up the weekend for me. Sure, I learned technical skills, autofocus, pro capture for birds, flash, focus stacking for macro, and how to get the most from my OM system camera's computational tools. But I also left with a deeper connection to my subjects and the environment. If you've ever wanted to level up your photography, spend a weekend immersed in nature, and be surrounded by people who not only speak your language, but they use similar equipment, these retreats are an amazing value. The small group size means a lot of quality time with instructors, and you'll not just leave with better skills, but with new connections who share the same passion. Not to mention the opportunities for local clam chowder and Maine lobster dinners. Not included in the retreat fee, of course. And to be clear, the cost of the retreat does not include airfare, hotel, or car rental. Again, the website is omsystemretreats.com. The second annual macro and close-up retreat is coming up soon in September, and I'll put a link in the description. And there will be another outdoor retreat in May of 2026, but those details are still forthcoming. Share in the comments if you've attended these retreats in the past or any other similar type of workshop and what kind of experience you had. If you are a Micro Four Thirds photographer or just curious about the format and the gear, here's a link to my other videos. And I'll have more links at the end of this one. Please like and subscribe as I will be producing more content related to photography tips and techniques, gear reviews, tutorials, and of course, Micro Four Thirds goodness. Regardless of the equipment or format you use, just get outside and create. Earth is art. Be the artist. Take care.